Has anything significant come out of Iowa football camp?
You know, there's definitely what I would point to first off is that there's definitely an emphasis on the passing game right now, which take that maybe with a grain of salt, just because of what the offense has been for the last half decade, if not more. But given how proficient the running attack was with Caleb Johnson and their expectations for that to more or less continue, with the continuity of the offensive line, with basically 6 playable running backs at this point in time, 5 or 6, they're true freshmen as long as everybody's healthy, 5 or 6, but they're true freshmen. Nathan McNeil has come in and impressed big time. So right now they feel really good about the run game. They're really just trying to hammer in the passing installs and such right now. Wide receivers are much more confident than they were at this time last year, given the fact that all of them, for the most part, except for Sam Phillips, have been in the passing game for the entirety of the last year, if not more. But really trying to work on the nuances between coverages, between what route you should run, all of those things, plus integrating Mark Gronowski, who was not available in the spring because of recovery from injury. But that's been a huge focus for them. Sounding like Trevor Lauk is separating himself at left tackle. A lot of buzz around the defense right now, despite losing 8 starters. Cohen Entringer, a guy that's really getting a lot of hype right now. I guess those would be the things that stick out to me at the beginning of the conversation anyway.
So I from all sources that you can imagine, received this from an Iowa State guy, our guy Levi Stevenson, SB Nation, and also hosts a show for us, that he jumped all over a Mark Gronowski practice. Apparently a 3 interception scrimmage that he had that stood out. But that aside, are we hearing anything that's on one end of the spectrum or the other in regards to whether he's looked extremely good coming off this injury or he's taken some time to work through some things?
It's been a mixture. Right now, I think I would probably lean towards wait until you see it. And I mean, I was in the same boat last year with Cade coming back off injury, Brendan Sullivan back, Tim Lester, first year offense. But there's been a mixture of good and bad, as one would expect. He's only been playing live football so far this spring with a new team for 2 weeks. I think jumping all over him that was the first day of practice that he's referencing. Mark Gronowski had not played a live rep since last fall. So I think that's a little ridiculous. But Mark, going to what we've seen live in the open practice, which again, that was just over a week that they'd been playing together, that he'd been playing live reps. He hit 3 deep balls, 2 of which, or maybe 4, 2 of which were to Reese Vanderzee. Another one was to Seth Anderson. Had some issues in terms of the snaps and stuff like that. Again, that's a continuity thing. That's figuring that out with Logan Jones. And then he threw a bit of a silly pick to Cohen Entringer on a screen pass to the tight end. To me, what that was Mark continuing to get to know the offense at this point in time. 1, 2, it being practice and him thinking, you know what, this isn't a live game. I think in a live game, he would have thrown that ball away. And it was just like, let me see if I can get it over there. Cohen Entringer, who is arguably, possibly the best player on the defense this year, grabs it, runs away with it. Also, you could probably put the blame on Trevor Lauk for that. Looked like he got off the line really slow and kind of messed up and also they've been practicing against each other. Cohen Entringer knows this offense. Like, I just think it's a little silly to be all over Mark Gronowski one way or another. Like, to say he's going to light the world on fire and be the best quarterback since CJ Beathard or Ricky Stanzi or Drew Tate. Like, Nate Stanley, I think, is a fair jump to make. But I think it's a little silly to go one way or another at this point.
You bring up the wide receivers, and I want to backtrack to that because you almost kind of had a semi-apology between the lines there, because anytime you bring up, Iowa's passing game, there's a little chuckle out there. We can almost hear it come from the chat, oh yeah, they're working on the passing game. But Tim Lester, it's pretty remarkable what he's been able to do with the wide receiver position at his former stop. And it's not like they were bringing in 5 stars that he turned into NFL players. And considering even the size limitations of some of these guys that he turned into high draft picks. And again, it wasn't just like a one-off, like one dude just took off and he gets the credit for it. You're talking 3 or 4 guys in a short span of time. So it's just going to be very interesting to see if they have a functional passing game. And you got to think that they got the right guy in play, both from an offensive coordinator and a wide receiver standpoint.
Dare I say that this group is deep? Like it almost, like you said, it almost feels wrong to say that the group is deep, because I mentioned 5 or 6 playable running backs. They've got 8 playable wide receivers at this point in time. You go down the list in Jacob Gill, Reese Vanderzee, Sam Phillips, Dayton Howard, Seth Anderson, Caden Weegan, KJ Parker, Jarriett Bowie. That's 8 as far as I got. And then they've got another scholarship receiver who's a freshman in Terrence Smith. I don't think he's going to play much, if at all, this year. But it's a group of 8 guys that you look at and be like, I could see that guy going for, however many 100 yards this season. If they have a go-to guy, I do think it's going to be Reese Vanderzee. He was really good in the limited, relative to wide receivers at Iowa, but really good in the availability that he had where he was healthy last year. A true X that can go up and get it, a guy that put on some really good weight this offseason, a lot stronger, so he's not going to get manhandled in Big Ten play like he did a little bit last year. Jacob Gill has an opportunity to be that safety valve type of receiver again. And Sam Phillips, we haven't heard or seen a ton at this point. He was hurt a decent amount in the spring, but he's a speedster that could return punts. There's been a lot of hype about KJ Parker. He's a guy that went incredibly under-recruited out of high school in the Chicago Catholic League, which if you need to know anything about Chicago football or recruiting, that Catholic League is loaded. He's from Immaculate Conception Prep. And it was initially recruited as a DB, and then Iowa decided to bring him in as a receiver. But and Dayton Howard went without a scholarship. And I really think they're on a much better trajectory than they have been probably the last 4 years at receiver. I mean, in 22, they had 1 scholarship receiver healthy, and now he's playing professional baseball. Like it's just a different room now. And I personally think Vanderzee could be in line for a breakout season. You're probably going to be looking at Iowa's at least one receiver surpassing probably at least the 500-yard mark, which in Iowa City is a freaking miracle at this rate. And I apologize to any Iowa fans where I'm providing these caveats, but it's what it is. It's the state of Iowa football. And I think additionally, having the crew of running backs that they do will take a lot of pressure off Mark Gronowski, and you're going to have fresh legs. You're not going to be relying on Caleb Johnson to win you every game, and I think Mark Gronowski has a better deep ball than I don't know, since probably Nate Stanley, and that's going to take pressure off the run game. It's just a complementary offense that Kirk Ferentz has has preached for a long time and hasn't gotten. This is the best shot they've had in at least half a decade.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hawkeye fans, the last wide receiver that put up just like amazing, incredible, ridiculous numbers did so at Purdue. That was Charlie Jones, obviously. He leaves, and I still remember, Elliot, they played their opening night on a Thursday night on Fox against Penn State, and Charlie Jones is catching like 10 balls for 120 yards or whatever. And then the next week, they go to Syracuse, Purdue, and he's another 12. And I'm texting Corey going, are you seeing this? Are you seeing what Charlie Jones is doing? This is unbelievable.